Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the ministry. I am your pastor and host, Pastor Moses Chiluba. On behalf of my wife, the Healing Word Ministries, I want to say that I am blessed and privileged to host a servant of God who is not new in the ministry. As a matter of fact, he was my senior. He was in the first intake in Assemblies of God Bible College for nationals to take over from the missionaries, and I was in the third intake. Once a captain, always a captain. Bishop Mbulo, welcome
Thank you
to
very
the program.
much. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Amen.
Yeah.
Bishop Mbulo is the pastor and bishop for Capital Ministries, Capital Christian Ministries. And he's going to tell us, and those of you who are his members and those of you who have been seeing this man on other television platforms, you will be privileged to note also that you had better go there this Sunday, because it will be the last Sunday that he will be at Mulungushi. There is a kuomboka to the promised land.
Yes.
Bishop Mbulo, please look in that camera and tell
Yes.
the nation who is Bishop George Mbulo.
Well, thank you very much, Pastor Chiluba. And as you have already alluded to it, our journey together has been long.
Amen.
And George Mbulo, as you have said, not new to our nation and then also media. But really, I was born in the Southern Province, in the Livingston area, and actually I began my first grade at Libuyu.
So you're not
Primary school there. Oh my goodness, it's been a long time. Those are dinosaur years.
Yes.
And we moved to the Copper Belt. And in my second grade, that was 1966. Yeah, 65, 66, we moved to the Copper Belt, and that was it. And you know how Copper Belt is. You get there, you lose whatever language you might have even learned anywhere else.
But you are from which province?
Okay, my mother actually is from Chinsali.
All right.
Yeah, out of Chiwesakunda's area, and it's a village, Kasungami. So that is where my mother is from, and then she's late. And my late dad is out of Chama under Chief Lundu. And so they met, of course, Pakalkit, because that was a school that was available then, and they would travel and come. And so we actually come from there. So we have a Tumbuka background as well as a Bemba. But as like I said, Copper Belt just dominated it.
It took everything.
Oh, it took everything. And so we just speak Bemba, and then someone says, but you're Mbulo. You're supposed to be speaking Tumbuka. And I say, you know what? In fact, it so confused me that we would have our relatives coming from Chama area or from Lundazi, and they're speaking Tumbuka, and then we're going, this is really our relatives?
Because amazing enough, Bishop, all these years, because I know you come from Chinsali.
Chinsali, yes.
I've always thought it was Mbulo, not Mbulo from East.
I
thought it was from
it's Mbulo out of Chama. Out of Chama. But of course, being Chinsali also, they turned it into Mbulo.
Yes.
And they said Mbulo is iron,
Yes.
So really, it's the background is that George Mbulo is Zambian, out of Muchinga now.
Amen.
Yeah, and of course, having grown up on the Copper Belt and left the Copper Belt when the Lord opened the door for my wife and I and our children to go into the United States in 1982. We came back.
When did you marry your wife?
Actually, that was 74.
1974.
Yeah, we are 45 years old together.
Wow.
Yeah, we are 45 years
you
old.
You don't
together.
even look it.
Someone always tells me and says, you shave your head so much and we can tell how old you are. I say, no, my own knees tell me. My own knees, they tell me how old I am. But my wife and I happy parents of 3 sons, and our youngest is now 33 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and the oldest is 42. So
My goodness.
They are all married, and the three of them are married, and we have 4 grandchildren.
Are they here?
No, they're in the United States.
Oh, they.
Yeah, when we went there for 14 years, they pretty much grew up there. Because when we went in 82, we took 2 of them, and the youngest was just 1 year, 5 months, and the oldest was 5 years. Then we came back for 3 years. Then we had our 3rd one. And we took him to the United States when he was also 1 year, 5 months.
Yeah.
And so they pretty much have grown up there. And the irony of it is that the church where we were privileged to pastor, they grew up there, connected with friends. And our first son is actually married to someone they grew up with in church.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were together in what you would term as children's church, because he was just 10 years old.
My God, Sunday school, yeah.
Sunday school.
I'm telling you, yeah.
So now they are happily married, and they have a daughter who is our granddaughter. Yeah, and then we have our second. Yeah, Kelvin is actually, he took off because we were in Los Angeles for all those 14 years. But him, after we left, due to a job, he moved to San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, really?
So he's the only one who lives there. The other 2 are still in LA. Yeah, they still live exactly where we left them.
So how many grandchildren have you got?
4 of them. Yeah.
Have you told them that we are African?
Oh my goodness! Actually, they've been taught, and we every time we are with them.
No, I'm saying, have you told them that we are Africans? The average family is about 6. 6, 8.
No, they would get it from their own grandfather, who says if I can't fit them in the back seat, that's too much. Yeah. So briefly, I don't know what else people would want to know. My wife and I actually went to the same school. We were at Mfuya Secondary School together.
Right.
And so we met there, and my wife's uncle, who is actually a 3rd born in our father's line, was our deputy headmaster, deputy head teacher, Mr. Peter Sangakalombo. So we pretty much grew up together. So for us, we say we are high school sweethearts because we met in high school, and ever since we've known each other.
Who got saved first, you or
I got saved first, and it was just a space of 1 week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when I gave my life to the Lord through a friend of ours, Green Peary.
Yes.
Green Peary is the one who gave his life to the Lord first. While we worked in the copper mine, I was an electrician. He was a metal fabricator. And so the boilermaker, as they call them. So he gave his life to the Lord. And we were good friends with Sky Banda, the late. That was our group.
And Pastor Mwansa.
Yeah, Ben Kesey Mwansa, who is in the UK now. So the late Sky Banda, myself and Green Peary, we were part of a secular music band.
Oh, really?
So
we playing?
I was playing rhythm guitar.
You still play?
I can just hide in a corner and just strum some strings, but not in public. Yeah, not in public. But Sky Banda was our lead guitar player, and Green Peary was the bassist.
Oh, really?
And then we had another friend of ours, Santos. He was a drummer. So we really were in that friendship. And then the Lord began to just save us. Green Peary came to the Lord, and he came and he told me, he says, I'm not continuing with our music, our band. And so it was quite amazing. And I said, well, my wife and I would like to come and meet you and your wife and find out what has happened to you. And that's how, when we went to his home, he began to tell us, my wife and I.
Which year was that?
Which year? That was 76.
My goodness.
Yeah, 1976. And so he spoke to us about the new life that he had begun, and it was so drastic a change. We knew him from high school. We were together in high school. We go into the industry, and we are being trained in engineering, and we know each other. Together, we know each other. But the drastic change of his salvation was just
dropping
everything. It's like night and day. Like night and day. In fact, one of the clinchers for me was that when he began to talk to my wife and I about the Lord, He was so passionate about the new thing he had found. You know, this new life, and he's talking about it. He says, "You say I feel at peace. I don't know the Bible that much, but I want you to know what I know has brought a lot of peace to me." And so he's actually telling us, my wife and I, to say, "Listen, you need to come to Jesus." And for me, it was like just resisting a little, because I knew a bit about things of the Lord because my parents were actually in the church.
That's right.
And you know, of course, there's a background, the Revelation movement people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so there was more church. Our home talked about, you know, church. But when we got into high school, you know, we just strayed. Yeah, so I knew enough to know that I could actually resist and tell him what I knew. But Green Period was just patiently communicating what he had found, and that's how he invited me. But you know what I asked him? I said, "Green," and he was very good at collecting all those albums, you know, the vinyl, records, yeah, the LPs, and so he had collected a lot. Of course, secular, you know, we were in the secular music, so he had collected quite a lot compared to what we had collected. So to me, it was okay. Since now you're not going to play music. Just give me that stuff, you know, give me those LPs, give me the records. And this is what he tells me. He says, "Actually, after I gave my life to the Lord, I broke them, all of them, and threw them in the garbage trash, in the trash can." I said, "What? You mean that collection you broke it?" And so that to me was sort of like, wow, for him to have done that, something seriously had changed in his life.
Absolutely.
And so I said, "Okay, I'll come and see where you are worshiping, you know, this church you're talking about so much." I said, I have been going to church, you know, my parents, except I strayed from going to my Lumpa church, you know.
New Jerusalem.
New Jerusalem. That time there was no New Jerusalem, it was just Lumpa.
It was Lumpa church,
Lumpa church. So to me, I just said, "Listen, I'll accompany you." Now, when my wife and I got home, to our home, I said to her, "You know, it's amazing that the change is very drastic. I don't know what they've done to him." Now again, the suspicion
started coming.
I thought, whatever they've done to him, it looks like hypnosis. Yeah, it's like my friend is in a stupor. Maybe they've done something to him mentally that I don't understand. But I know that he's very sincere about it. That the change is not something I can doubt. It has changed. You know, he's no longer with us. He's no longer coming for rehearsals. He's no longer drinking. He has stopped all these things. And his wife also. So I said to my wife and I are talking. I said, "You know, let's do this. Instead of both of us going to his church, I don't know what they do in that church.
Let me go first. Yeah.
Because if we both of us go and they hypnotize us, no one will rescue the other." I said, "No one will rescue the other, so let me go first. And if I come back confused and you sense that I need help, at least you'll be normal.
I'm telling you.
You look for help."
Yeah.
You know, so that was our little mind thinking we could trick God. You know, so I accompanied him. It was Eastleigh Assembly of God Church.
And who was the pastor then?
It was a Canadian missionary, David Way. Yeah, David Way was the pastor there, a Canadian missionary, who used to even drive to the mine compound and distribute tracts, you know, and he would stand at the corner, you know, and he would be distributing tracts and talking to people about the Lord. And, you know, a lone white man, you know, in Kantashi, you know, he's talking about Jesus. So when I accompanied my friend to his church, it wasn't even a big group, and for that matter, it wasn't even a Sunday. It was actually a Wednesday prayer meeting. And of all times to invite your friend who is new to a Pentecostal church in a prayer meeting. You know, to him it's like, let him come and see.
Midweek service.
So I get in there, and of course, you know, the usual thing that they would characterize Pentecostals that time, because Pentecostalism was very new.
That's right.
I must state that in our time, Pentecostalism was a very strange phenomenon.
Absolutely.
And so strange that they even mistook us for Mamutumwa, you know. They just thought these are demon-possessed people, they just run around and they just look a little bit more polished because maybe they're educated.
That's how we were kicked out from Kafue UCZ Church when we got saved.
Yeah.
In 1979, the whole group were kicked out.
Kicked out of there. Yeah, so they just said they look a little bit polished. These guys have gone to school and they're working, in the copper mine. They are engineers being trained. And so really there's something normal about them, but the abnormal thing is that they go to a church where something doesn't sit well, and Pentecostalism at that time was not, for example, Assemblies of God, PLG. The main churches were just about 5. Actually, churches.
5, eh?
5 churches. We are talking Maranatha, we are talking Eastleigh, we are talking Northmead, we are talking Chimwemwe, we are talking Kanyama. There were 2 others. There was also Chawama.
Yeah, Chawama.
Yeah, there was Chawama. And then on the Copper Belt, there was also Mfulira, Kamchanga. That was it. That was 2 Pentecostal Assemblies of God.
In Zambia.
In Zambia. The whole Zambia. So it was one of those situations where this is a very new thing, and then the word assembly did not sit well, because we're assembling cars as a country in Livingston, and then also Land Rover in Dollar. Yeah. And so when you said assemblies, they thought, man, that has to do. What do they assemble? So it was sort of confusing. And then, of course, the thing that it really overshadowed it all was the fact that they had heard that the praying and worshiping was loud. Making noise. And they mistook it for crying constantly. And so they would say, facetiously, are you going to that church where they cry? And then some would even joke and say, what do they cry about? Say, these people, they just get into church and then they just burst into crying. Why did you crucify him? Why did, it was a funny thing. But you see, parallel to it was that the younger generation, which we were, was being captivated by scientific socialism, which is Marxism. So parallel to that, some are getting saved. Others are being drawn into Marxism. Belief that there is no God. God, religion is just the opium of the people. If you are intelligent, you don't go to church. That was the major thrust at that time.
So you got saved in 76.
76.
And by 78, you went into
Bible school. This is why we're saying the radicalness of what was happening that time was when I went with my friend to that church on that Wednesday evening. It was a prayer meeting. And as I looked at my friend, who at that time had already been spirit-filled, and he has his hands lifted, and he's saying some things. Of course, I'm still very, very spiritually, remote, as I'm in that church, and I'm looking at people, who are seriously talking to God. And my thought was, who are they talking to? And my friend Green, of course, it was very obvious that he's next to me and he's saying some things about God. But I'm thinking, is he able to see God and I can't? I'm sitting next to him, I'm sitting next to him. He's talking to God and I can't see God. And that was the conviction that the Holy Spirit used to convict me that and say, listen, if your friend is here and he's talking to God and you can't even see God or even utter anything to God, you cannot communicate with him, you must really be lost. So in a prayer meeting, to me, it was not about the prayers, it was not about all that was going on in there, the music and all that. It was that thought. And then when the Pastor David Way finished the Bible study and the prayer meeting, and then he said, is there anyone here that would like to give their life to Jesus? Now you can imagine, throughout the gathering, the service, I'm processing that thought. My friend is seeing God and talking to God. I can't, because I'm very lost. So says anyone, and I thought, okay,
here's a chance.
Here's a chance for me to be able to see what my friend is saying. And so when the altars were opened over the front, say, come. It was like someone was pushing me, literally. And I'm saying this not to dramatize the thing. It's like someone was saying, get up.
All right.
And, I'm looking around, and of course, there's a picture that you cannot see. I had a big afro, You know, I can grow hair, you know, but now it's gone. The big afro and the bell-bottom slack, you know, my trousers were bell-bottom. Yeah, you know, we were actually typical musicians.
Yeah.
Green had changed.
Yeah.
Now I was still the same. When he invited me, I didn't have clothes for change. I had clothes for the stage and out there, you know, and so I came with one, you know, and of course I was like a sore thumb. I was like a sore thumb. And I'm sitting in there with this big afro, you know, and Green had trimmed his afro a little, you know, and I'm thinking, man, this is really different. And of course, when I got up, I was the only one who got up, because I thought others would get up as well. They must be feeling the way I'm feeling. I was the only one. I got up and went to the front. It was just a small group anyway of about 30 people. So I walked to the front in Eastleigh Assembly of God Church. And the pastor, you know, was excited. And he tells me, says, do you know how to pray? And I said, no, I don't. He says, praying is just talking to God.
That's right.
Know, just talking to God like you talk to your father, you know. Why don't you pray for yourself? And I'm thinking, praying for myself. He says, just tell God what you want while you've come forward. And you know, I closed my eyes. Says, close your eyes so you're not distracted. Pastor Chiluba, when I closed my eyes, the only thought that came to me, and I'm not kidding, I didn't know how to pray. The only thought that came to me was to just ask God. He said, talk to God. So I just told God, I said, Lord, God, do to me what you have done to Green. That was my prayer.
That was an innocent prayer.
Oh my goodness. But I was very sincere. Yeah, I just said, God, do to me what you have done to Green. And I mean, it was like, I felt like something had just been lifted off of my life. Like I had been covered over by something. And this thing just broke loose and lifted off of me. When I opened my eyes, it's like a whole new world in terms of, where did this peace come from? All of a sudden it's like, you know, resting. And then the pastor said, okay, I'll lead you in a prayer. And he led me in a prayer. Now as he was leading me in a prayer, I'm saying it emphatically now. No, because something has happened to me. And I knew that something had happened. I could not define it. And so when the pastor said, okay, you go and take your seat. As I'm walking back, instantly the conviction was, why did I leave my wife? That was the conviction. Why did I leave my wife?
Because you discovered you were not hypnotized.
No. Now to me it has become real that something has changed in me and I'm feeling so good. Why did I tell my wife not to come? Now, as I sit down and I'm thinking, Green is looking at me because I'm not as excited as the Pentecostals were, because I'm new to this thing. But somehow I have this bubbling joy in me. But as I'm sitting there, I started thinking, man, what about if the world ends now? That is the thought. I said, my wife will go to hell. I'll go to heaven. That's just sitting within few minutes. I'm processing already heaven and hell. And then I told Green, I said, Green, I want to go home. Because the service was not completely done.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm thinking I'm wasting time. I'm wasting time. Because the more time I waste here, if the world was to come to an end, I would be the one to be blamed. That I agreed. I said, honey, just stay home. And she's in hell now. So I'm telling Green, I want to go. He says, no, it will be over. Give it about 5-7 minutes, we'll be done. I said, no, I want to go. He says, why? I said, no, I can't tell you. Because I didn't know how to explain it.
My goodness.
Now, Pastor Chiluba, when they just said it's over, he wanted to linger with new friends he had found at church. To me, I just told him, I said, I'm going home. I went straight home. My wife can tell you if she was here, that when I knocked at the door and she opened it, the first words that came out of my mouth, I didn't know how to frame them, because all along from Eastleigh to Kantanshi, my thought was the world could end.
That's right.
I don't want my wife to go to hell. I want her to be in heaven as well. And as I was thinking about that, I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to tell her to convince her? Because I'm not a pastor. The pastor there said some things that caught my attention. But my wife, what am I going to say? When she opened the door, the only thing that could come out of my mouth is, honey, you're going to hell. Just like that. She would tell you. I just said, you're going to... She looked at me, and to her, I could see the horror on her face. The horror on her face was the thing we feared the most, that one of us would be confused. Has happened.
Now she didn't know how to do.
She didn't know how do I help him out of this thing. She says, come and sit down. Come. I sat down. She says, what has happened to you? I said, listen, I've never felt this good. My life has been changed. And she said, what changed? You just walked from change to here. I said, no, the way I'm feeling, I want you to know it's like I find myself thinking, I lived a deceptive life, thinking I'm okay, the music and all that was good, but now I'm feeling filthy about it. She says, what has happened? That's why I started going through a little bit of what I got.
Did she give her life to the Lord right then?
No, because you see, for her, she was more religious than me. She had been to Roman Catholic, she had been to UCZ. In fact, I remember when we were in high school, she would even go for choir rehearsal at UCZ. You know, for her, she was more religious, and that was sort of like a hindrance to her, because she was now trying to tell me, you go to church once, and you come back and tell me I'm going to hell. When in fact I was going to church until I met you. You know,
Bishop,
it's amazing.
This is what the world cannot understand.
No, they can't.
And
the transformation of the human heart,
that's right.
They can't
because somebody to just give their lives to the Lord drastically. You know, one of my friends that got saved, when I got saved, we were together at Broadway Primary School in the 70s. When he saw me get saved in 1979,
right,
because I was more notorious than him, and I changed everything. He simply said, if God can save you, then he has no problem with me. And he gave his life to the Lord.
So after I talked to her, I said, honey, Sunday, they have a church service. Now to me, I'm just praying to God. You can imagine I'm a baby, 1 day old. And that evening, I'm telling God, I'm saying, God, please don't end the world until Sunday, so that my wife can go and hear what I've heard. And of course, what she saw was, in the morning, I'm going to work. I said to her, you know, I just want the Bible. They gave me a Bible when I left. Actually, after I gave my life to the Lord, the pastor slipped a Bible into my hand, a King James version, that when I opened, I couldn't even read the old English, you know. And I said, oh, I'm taking the Bible to work. Today, I told her, today, instead of reading a newspaper and all that, not that there's anything wrong with reading, I said, today, instead of reading a newspaper when I get to work, I'll be reading the Bible. My goodness, she saw that and said, okay. And after work, I said, I will come straight home. You are coming straight home. You didn't have any other plans? I said, no. My plans are come home and read more
of the word,
of the Bible. Because they told me to read John, the Gospel of John. I said, whether I understand it or not, I'll just be reading. So when I went to work, the shock for, because I was supervising a little electrician's crew, you know, as one was actually being trained as an engineer there, I had few people, you know, that I was supervising in my section. The first thing they saw was I sat down, out of my backpack, those canvas things, you know, for the mines, I pulled out a Bible, a big King James version, and I put it on my table. And they looked at me and said, George, what has happened? I said, I gave my life. That's what I said. Because that when I got it, that you have given your life to Jesus. So I told him, I said, I've given my life. I gave my life to Jesus last night. I said, last night, where did you find Jesus? Where did you find Jesus? So to me, it was like instantly, I'm beginning to tell them what had happened to me without knowing even how to find John 3:16. To find it, I have to go to the index. To go to the index to find John 3:16. And I told them that, they told me in John 3:16 that God loved me so much that he gave me his son to come and die for me, so that if I believe in him, he will give me eternal life. He has given me eternal life. They are laughing. You know, these are friends.
And that was in 1976.
76.
Bishop. Are you saying?
Yeah.
Or when I invited you,
Yeah.
I wanted you, it's like you read my mind.
Yeah.
I want you to help me
Yeah.
and the nation.
Yes.
Looking at the role of the church
Yeah.
in society.
In society.
Of the church.
Exactly.
Are you telling me
Yeah.
that the church
Yeah.
has such influence
Oh,
to
my goodness.
convert people and every person?
You know, the Lord of the church, let me put it that way, the Lord of the church has power to change every human heart if you are willing, if you are submissive to him, if you can just let God come in. Because you see, the Bible just tells us very point blank and says he came unto his own and his own received him not, but to as many as received him and as many as believed in his name, he gave them the power. And that word power is the authority to become a child of
Amen.
God. He is the only one who gives it to us. And when he gives it to us, it's him who does the changing of the heart. And in changing of the heart, and your position before God is instantaneous. But now you begin to grow. Just like babies are born. And then they have to grow. So it is that experience where you say the church, when it is doing its proper assignment, the proper assignment of pointing people to the Lord and to point them to the salvation God has provided, or the new life that God has provided for us through his son Jesus Christ, the instant change will be experienced by many, which we have witnessed over the years, because now we've been in ministry for over 40 years. And we have seen God do that time and time again. It's because a church is able to change. First of all, I tell people, the initial thing that people would ask you and were asking us when we went to ministry was, how does ministry contribute to the development of a nation? You know, because in their thinking, when I was an electrical engineer, I was actually contributing to the development of our land. Now that I'm just preaching the Bible, what contribution am I making to the nation? And I told them this, and I said, can you imagine the George Mbolos unsaved and living a life of brokenness, disobedience, stealing? For the industry itself that I'm working for, I'm stealing from it because my conscience is seared. I cannot even feel that. In other words, they think I'm productive according to their estimate, but really and truly, in my devious ways, I'm depleting a nation. Because why? I'm not living up to my full capacity as a human being who is sincere and is guided by the right principles of life. That's one. Secondly, I told them, I said, do you know that my family is very happy now? That I don't come out of the plant at Mfuya East, copper mine, RCCM, and walk to Upper or whatever, the bar, Mbo, whatever they called it, that I'm spending the money that should have actually brought productivity at home. I'm spending it out there drinking, and when I come home, I'm half a brain. What productivity is that? I have just depleted the nation. And I said, now look at me. I've given my life to the Lord. And I'm now even going to be preaching to many others to let them know, change your life and be productive as God intended for you to be. And so when we talk about the role of the church, we also go beyond that. And we say we are raising up leaders of integrity, entrepreneurs of integrity. We are raising up people that are movers and shakers of our nation. Because when you have a CEO in your church who knows the Lord, I want you to know that company is blessed. That company has someone who fears God. And they're going to do their level best, not as merely a duty. To them, it is a purpose God has given them. And therefore, they live according to God's purpose. So when we talk about how the church, the role of the church in society and in a nation, people don't realize that actually we do far much more than what they actually ascribe to the church.
In fact, Bishop, maybe at this time, may I ask my director to give us Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 to 16. Jesus left these words. It was Jesus who left them.
Exactly.
You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness,
Yeah.
how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled upon by men.
Amen.
Meaning,
Yeah.
if as Christians
Yeah.
we cannot be different from the
Yeah.
world system,
Yeah.
we are better off to be thrown out.
Exactly. We are not of any use.
And the Bible goes on to say that you are
You
the
are the
light
light.
of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, right now we are complaining about load shedding,
Yeah.
the importance of light. You know, if there is
Living
no
in the brightness of the light. Yeah.
my goodness, neither do people light a lamp and put it under the bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand,
Yeah.
and it gives light to everyone
in the house.
In the house. And
Yeah.
verse 16
Yeah.
says, in the same way, let your light shine before men,
Yeah.
that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father
in heaven.
in heaven.
Pastor Chiluba, just to add on to that, being light or salt, when you consider that George Mburo, who was being trained and he was an engineer in a copper mine, if I have had half the night just messing my life up, drinking and all that, then in the morning I have a hangover, I go to work. I may do the chore just to survive, so that they may see that I've fulfilled what I'm hired to do. But after I gave my life to the Lord, the change they saw was this: sober, going to work, and when I go to work, I'm not fearing my foreman. I'm fearing the Almighty God.
Yeah.
Who sees even in secret. Therefore, whatever I'm doing, my preoccupation is not about deceiving my foreman to think I'm working and I'm doing the right thing. No, it's about being open before God to say, Lord, I will be an example here. And being the light. Anyone, if they're still living and they can remember George in the copper mine, and all that, they can remember the example that we became. It was like night and day, where someone would look at us and say, oh, these young people, they are being trained as engineers and all that, but look, their life. Then the compassion that we began to have, caring about people, where before people were just tools, a little crew that you have. And I worked underground, by the way, as an electrician. The little crew that I have, it was merely utilizing them. These are just to make me look good to my foreman, so that my section doesn't have breakdowns.
That's right.
But it wasn't like I cared about them. Now after I gave my life to the Lord, they began to notice that actually there was a deep compassion for them.
You started respecting them.
Respecting them and valuing them.
Knowing that they were made in the image
of God. Yeah. In fact, what's amazing is I worked in the same electrical department underground, Mfuria East, with a father to one of my former classmates at Mfuria Secondary School, a lady. And the father went and told his daughter and said, do you know George has changed? Says, George Mburo has changed. He says, yes, he has changed. I work with him in the same department. He no longer does those things he used to do. He's just a gentleman now. He just talks about the Lord. And of course, we were instant evangelists. To us, it wasn't like, be shy about talking about Jesus. I remember I would get a bunch of tracts, for gospel tracts, and stand at the entrance of the shaft when the whole cage, we call it the cage, the lift, would be there and people are coming to get into it. I would be distributing to them. Distributing tracts, I said, you're going underground, and then of course I would throw in a little bit and say, yeah, we are going under. You don't know whether you're coming up, and hopefully you are ready to meet your maker.
That's right.
Yeah, so it was instant evangelism. And that is how a friend of mine, Tobias, late now, came to the Lord. That is how my assistant foreman, who actually even became an elder at Eastleigh Assembly of God Church. It is those experiences where, and of course Green and I, now being born again, we are the ones that began to talk to Sky Banda, the late Bishop Sky Banda, excuse me.
No, yeah. Bishop.
Yeah.
Just there. looking at the one department,
Yeah.
when I say department, I'm looking at it holistically.
Yeah.
The civil service.
Yeah.
You know that it's one of the worst departments where people have
Yeah.
no value for time.
Yeah.
They have no value for the nation. They can report at 10 o'clock
Yeah.
and knock off at 16 hours.
Yeah,
or
I've seen
15
it.
hours.
I've seen it in instances where,
Yeah.
maybe a cabinet minister decides and says, okay, I want to see what time people report for work. I want to mention specifics. But, the minister arrives there in good time or before time to see how many walk through there. Amazingly enough, you find a group of them have been locked outside because they're late.
And President Chiluba used to do that.
And when you look at that, you're going, okay, they don't value time. Now, even if they are there, and that is not to say everyone is like that, but in the majority, it becomes a bad reputation. They come to work, and it could be any work. They are in the offices. Your thought is that as long as they are present, they are productive. They are not. Productivity has to do with purpose.
That's right.
That an individual has and wants to accomplish it. It is not about just showing up physically and I'm sitting there. No. In fact, if anything today, there are even some workers who don't even have to come to the office. But they are so motivated, and with all the electronic and technical world, they can work from home, they can work from anywhere. You don't have to supervise them, but they are so motivated to meet their targets and their goals that actually what you're talking about is it has to take a heart of a person. And when God is involved now in the heart, it is even increased.
So, Bishop, one of my friends, Mr. Lee, is in South Korea.
Yeah.
A child of God. He loves God. He's a millionaire now. He's got his own company. He told me something that in South Korea, when you're applying for a job, like our friends, they have certain forms to say which church do you go to, what, what's the role? I mean, what's your position?
What do you do?
If you submit, they normally prefer to take Christians. Because they are so committed to what they do.
Yes.
And they do it wholeheartedly.
And that's very true,
That's in South Korea.
That's very true in every situation, where you have Christians who are truly committed and dedicated. The testimony is that they are better workers in terms of engagement, and their conscience actually would bother them if they should change the company.
But bringing it down to our situation, Bishop, why do people look down on Christians? I'm saying this because you see there is this issue of Zambia being declared
a Christian nation.
And mostly you are looked upon like you are trash. You can't perform. Why do the people?
First of all, there are two levels to it. We have to be aware that sometimes the accusation may not be true. It is just because you say you are a Christian, and in their darkness, it becomes a battle. Because why? Let me give an example. Going back again to my working days when I was my time when I was an engineer in the mines, an electrician. When I got saved, I would not create overtime just for the sake of making money, because I would be afraid that God will look upon me and say, why you are stealing. Now, when I would tell my small crew and say, listen, we can't have overtime because there's nothing broken. They want us to create one. I don't know whether ESCO, there are people who create overtime so that something breaks down and then they don't attend to it until it is in the overtime so they can make more money. Those are some of the simple things. You are at work. How many hours do you put in to bring about productivity? If you are a Christian and you are doing that, your conscience doesn't bother you. I would question your value in the kingdom of God. So when we talk about accusations, yes, some accusations can be true. That maybe a Christian, and then we have to know at what level a Christian is at.
Absolutely.
It's maturity as well. There are some who are not mature and they you can't actually tell they're any different.
And those who just hide.
Yeah, exactly. In Christianity. They just hide in there. And there could be a number of them who hide in church and then they tell people, I go to that church. And as far as those people are concerned, those should actually exemplify or display a better standard, better moral fiber than what they are seeing. And therefore they begin to say, you know what, it doesn't help. to be a Christian. But I want you to know, in the majority, this is what I tell people. I say, in the majority, Christians are living as a testimony. And anyone who would say, no, I can't, Christianity in Zambia has failed, even though we have declared ourselves a Christian nation, I think they are just being disingenuous. Yeah, because in the first place, here I am sitting because I got saved. Here you are, Pastor. You got saved. So, if there is evidence that actually Christianity is impacting people's lives through Christ, and how many others, not necessarily being preachers, but how many others are Christians and they are living up to the standards? Why? Because you see, again, there is this analogy that even if you fill your mouth with groundnuts and then you throw in one bad one, the whole thing goes bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is usually the case. Is that, you see, it's the few that would ruin it for many. But the testimony doesn't mean it has changed. It doesn't mean the good has become bad. No, it is just that the bad one was mixed with the good. So when we talk about Christ changing lives, and then also the role of the church, is that we need to change by the help of the Lord and the Spirit, to change the human heart. Because the Bible tells us it's the one that is desperately wicked. And who can know it? Only God. A human heart can never be changed by policing, as we have already seen. They still break the law.
Because even when you look at what's happening on the Copper Belt.
In Chingola we heard
where they are
the unfortunate
people.
things.
Can somebody who fears God,
do that,
who loves God, do that?
No. You see, that's the thing.
And
if they really love God, they miss it.
Where Christianity is.
And so where the human heart has been touched by God, you can see the fruit. And the fruit is that, look at how they treat others. Look at how they care for others. Look how they take care of their own homes. Look at how even their own profession, how they operate in that realm. We are not talking that there is no failure. There are some who fail.
That's right.
There are some who fail. But in full testimony, there are more who are living up to the standard.
Bishop, I want to take you to this because I saw an article. An argument also. Sorry about this.
No.
Put you on the spot.
No, that's right.
You said something about Zambia being a Christian nation.
Yes.
And Laura Miti responded to that.
Yes.
That you don't have your facts about the
thing.
butane. What would you say about butane?
It's rather unfortunate. I won't dwell too much on Miss Laura Miti's but you see, when we talk about butane has become a very emotive issue. It is very emotional. There are people that don't even want to hear butane. It just sounds almost like a monster. And then when they hear somebody is actually interacting, let me use the word interacting with butane, they actually would want for you to be seen in the same light as the demonized butane. And the reason is simple. There are those who are advocating for total boycott and abandonment of butane. And those who would want wholesale, we just align ourselves with them. On what basis are we going to align with those who are advocating for that? Convince me. This is what I say. If you can convince me, because in a democratic society that we are, you cannot just tell me something and then I follow. I have to be convinced if I'm going to even elect you. If I'm going to vote for you, you need to convince me. Now, if you don't convince me, you are merely just saying it's very bad. This is where the curiosity came, where we sat down and with fellow clergy and we said, listen, we have to make an informed decision because we are leaders of the people. We need to make sober judgment of this thing that has come up. And the irony of it, Pastor Chiluba, is that it began with the politicians themselves.
The PF.
No, not PF. All political parties, because the Siavonga resolution of 2018, it is where all political parties and their secretary generals,
including UPND,
MMD, PF, MMD, every political party that had any existence in this country as a political party, their secretary generals gathered in Siavonga. And in Siavonga, a resolution on the 12th of June 2018, they all signed to it and said, because they wanted to do three things. They wanted, first of all, let's fine-tune and refine our constitution, which they all agreed.
All the parties.
These are the politicians and their parties. They have agreed that actually the 2016 revealed or manifested some issues with our constitution that it almost brought us to the brink of civil war. And ending court cases that preoccupied our nation, that it almost paralyzed us. Because it was just lawsuits upon lawsuits, and the people are just milling in the courts. And you can imagine that they themselves as politicians, they realized and said, man, this thing doesn't actually sit well. It is not guiding us. Therefore, there's some what they call the lacuna in this thing. We need to get rid of those areas that are not very well defined. So let's go and revise. The politicians.
The church was not...
No, the church was not there. You see, if the church was there, it was there through them who are Christians. But it was politicians. And the resolution, the Siavonga resolution, is the one that actually birthed NDF, National Dialogue Forum.
From Siavonga.
The Siavonga resolution. And this is there for everyone to read. Now you see, when people actually begin to say, why are you involved in things like this, you know, we say no. When it comes to the supreme law of the land, we are not talking about partisan things.
Come on.
You see, when you talk about the constitution, you are not talking about UPND or PF or MMD. No, we are talking about... This is a national document, and these are the laws that are going to affect everyone in this nation, including me as clergy. Therefore, I should show interest in wanting to know what this is all about. Now, it began with them, and of course we know that 2016, you know, when the president assented to the new constitution at the National Heroes, you know, Stadium, we rejoiced and all that, not realizing, my goodness, there are things in there that we needed to sort out. They themselves, politicians, found out. Then when that NDF, the National Dialogue Forum, which came as an act of parliament, you see, it began as an act of parliament, and it is there in the act of 2019 that Parliament established the National Dialogue Act, upon which National Dialogue Forum was based. It defined their terms of reference. From Siavonga, they proposed. Then when it was an act, it defined what NDF was going to do. Now, Pastor Chiluba, what is shocking and surprising is that we went through a roller coaster again as a nation, and the roller coaster was just to decide who will chair. The question was not who
will chair the NDF.
The question was not we don't want to change our constitution. That was not the issue. Everyone agreed, and if there is any politician who says the Siavonga resolution was a PF thing, then they are not really learned. They are not informed. They are deceiving people.
Really?
They all agreed and signed to it. Secretary General of your party, Secretary General of your party, Secretary General of your party has signed to say we want to change our constitution.
And the document is there.
Oh, it's there. It's there. For anyone to go, if you want, just Google it, and you'll be able to get it. Now the document is there, which says, let's refine our constitution. Then also they said, you know what, we need to also deal with this public order thing, you know, the electoral system. The electoral system we need to work on. It is from Siavonga that they decided, and they said we need to deal with this particular issue. Now, when they came to the area where now they said, okay, who is going to chair? Pastor Chiluba, you remember the circus? You remember the circus?
Yeah.
Some were saying we want foreigners to come and chair us. Commonwealth.
And some were saying,
why should we call Commonwealth foreigners to come and deal with our domestic issues? You mean we are not intelligent enough to manage this thing? Now, within our own country, we came to the place where we said, okay, let the church mother bodies You know, the three church mother bodies chair this thing. And they chair the three church mother bodies with the Zambia Center for Inter-Party Dialogue. Suspicion began to arise to the point where they said, no, we don't want the change. Because the church also seems to be politically inclined. Now, you can imagine, Pastor Chiluba, we have been subjected to things as citizenry. That at times, you know, when some of us begin to talk things like this, you know, where we say, this is the supreme law of our land. It is going to affect me whether I like it or not.
That's right.
If I pass on and Jesus does not come, these things will still affect my grandkids.
Absolutely.
They will affect everyone that comes after me. Therefore, I better be sober. As when it comes to, it has nothing to do with politics. I'm non-partisan, by the way. I don't belong to any political party, as I've said on many platforms, and I've said, if there is any politician who can claim me to be theirs, let them come up for air, and I'll prove to them that they are wrong, they are false. And you know what? The point is this: non-partisan. My congregation has never heard me preach politics in the pulpit.
Just like my wife and I.
Yes.
I never.
Now, Pastor Chiluba, the NDF, the groups that were part of NDF, those that were actually part of NDF now, if you go and look at the list, some of them are the ones who came and opposed that same thing that came out of NDF.
Really?
And I'm not lying here. This is public record. This is public record. We pull the documents. You, after this show, after this program, go and ask and find out and Google and get the list of those who participated in NTF. You'll be surprised. Some of them are the ardent and forceful opponents of the same thing. And first of all, remember, it began on the wrangles of who chairs it, not on the purpose of NDF. That's what people forget. The issue was not about NDF. The issue was about who would chair it. Now the wrangles about chairing and all that. The only other thing that came up now was, oh, you know what? There are more government people in NDF. More government people. And also including parliamentarians.
Some of those government people
could be belong to their parties.
Yes, and they could be civil servants.
No, to me, I'm just saying, who are civil servants? Civil servants also have political affiliations. Absolutely. Because that's a democratic right.
And they have interests.
Exactly. Yeah. So who is to say every civil servant that is here is one party? They could belong to several other parties. But you see, the point was that there was just now unnecessary wrangling. Over what they already agreed. I almost said we, I'm not a politician, but they already agreed that there's a necessity to change and refine our constitution. That one, there's no one who can refute it. That we needed to change this constitution. That's why they had the Siyafonga resolution of June 2018. Now, in 2019, with all the back and forth, the thing was taken to Parliament by the Minister of Justice. And an act was put in place. And they chose now even the chair, who was Mr. Patrick Sanga. Yes, to chair it. And who is Mr. Patrick Sanga? He is a member of one of the political parties. Now, you see, this is where the whole irony comes in, is this. When the document was crafted and formulated, and then it was brought to Parliament. At that point, some now were saying, no, it shouldn't even go to Parliament, let's just throw it out. Because what is contained in there would destroy our nation and all those things. That's what was being said. Now the question was, what is it in it that will destroy our nation? No, just stay away from even getting involved with it. You said, no way. As intelligent as we are, as educated as we are,
without explanation.
Without explanation, you just tell me and say, just stay away. That is the more reason I want to go see it. Now, on my own and the others on their own, clergy, because I know I'll be pastoring people who are flustered,
Absolutely.
People that are angry, people. I need to know what it is that is flustering them.
Absolutely.
And so, to me, I get a bulletin and I read it through and through, and I'm an ardent reader. I love to read. And I can read documents, philosophy and all the... I read that thing. I'm not a lawyer or constitutional lawyer, but I read it through and through. I took notes, and my wife knows how I deal with things like that. I took notes, and I looked at it, and I said, wow, this thing has some bad proposals in it. It has some bad proposals that need changing. There are some that are good. But there's some articles here that need, some clauses that need changing. Guess what? If I stay away from this, it has already been taken to Parliament. And Parliament has decided that they are going to do what? First reading. We are going to take this thing, and the Speaker of the House forms a parliamentary select committee. To me, who knows, and anyone else who knows, when the process of legislation begins, it's either it is going to be stopped at a certain point, for whatever reason it's so illegal that it will stop. But I want you to know both sides of the divide. They are fighting for it. Those who want it to continue, they want it to continue. Those who don't want it to continue, they want you to not to continue. But the point is this: boycotting it does not take you anywhere. So we said, let's look at it, because if I boycott, it means that I'm leaving more clout to those who might want these things to pass. Because as far as I was concerned, and many others in our clerical circles, we met. And as Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, and I say this, we are on TV, as Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, up to the time that the Parliamentary Select Committee was put in place and the Chief Whip in Parliament had even said submission should be now begin, guess what happened? We were still dragging our feet as to whether we should get involved or not. Now this is what happened. We went to our General Assembly, because EFZ, the final authority of EFZ is the General Assembly.
That's right.
The executive director, the chair, and all those executives in there, they have the authority of the General Assembly to do what they do. They cannot go contrary to what the General Assembly says. Now we go to General Assembly, no campaign, nothing. It was merely General Assembly. The question was raised: why is it, as Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, we have not given guidance to our constituents regarding butane? Did we have a good explanation?
Absolutely.
The only explanation that came up was, well, they're saying it's a bad thing, and what went on with the NDF chairing. Now they refused us to chair. Now, of course, I'm saying that sort of like flippantly, but there were many serious issues that were discussed. And in the General Assembly, overwhelmingly, in the General Assembly of EFZ, overwhelmingly, clergy at the senior level said we cannot stay away. We need our voice to be heard. Therefore, please compose a subcommittee that is going to analyze this document, and they'll make submissions, whether for or against any particular articles and clauses in there. I just happened to have been one of those that they asked and said, be part of it. And there were other eminent, distinguished men of God, that were part of it. And the Lord gave us opportunity. Because for me, I'd already read this thing. And I'd even taken notes as to what I thought was really bad. There were things like, to me, I couldn't see why we should have deputy ministers back. And then when we sat down and talked as a group, we also agreed and said, why should we have deputy ministers back? If civil servants, who are the managers of line ministries, the permanent secretaries, have failed, and you show and prove to us that they failed, then we can have deputy ministers. But if they are managing these line ministries, why are we rushing to bring back deputy ministers? Is that just to multiply political positions?
To give jobs to your relatives.
And then, things like you read in there, things like, how do you take a retiree off their salary when you haven't paid them their benefits? How do you hope they're going to live? Now, you see, the thing is that the people on the other side of the divide, to them they would rather we were not even interacting with such questions. That we would just die and just roll back and satisfy them. We refused. We refused. We are not going to die here and just roll back for whatever reason you think we should. We are not politicians. We are not in the political arena.
We are going to account
It's
for
about the law of the land. And the law of the land is not about a particular political party. Political parties can come and go.
Absolutely.
The law will still be there. Therefore, we will see this thing to the very end and our voice will be heard. Pastor Chiluba, that Bill 10, when we analyzed it from our Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia point of view, and I can attest all the other fraternal Christian groups that presented, we were almost like in sync without even sitting together.
Really?
It's like we were in sync, the things that we were seeing in there. And we would look at all these things and say, this one here, we don't agree. This one here, we don't agree. This one here, we agree. First of all, when we looked at the things that we didn't agree with, we pointed them out. Yes, we pointed them out. And we wrote down a document, and it is even on our Evangelical Fellowship Subcommittee Facebook. So anyone can actually go to our Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia Facebook and see it. Then also the other groups, Christian groups that submitted, they also can give you access.
Without comparing.
And you will see that actually when it came to certain points, we all agreed. But the unfortunate thing is that those who are against us getting involved, they thought we were just going to rubber stamp Bill 10. That was their fear. We'll just go in there and just say, this is a good thing. Like we've heard some people even misquote us. They've even insulted us. Because they thought we were so dull, uneducated, because they think when you're wearing a collar, you are ignorant. But what they don't realize is that actually there are people who wear the collar who are more educated than even people who don't.
And the worst part of it, Bishop, like you said, it's an insult for anybody to think that Christians or preachers are down.
Yes.
And they are forgetting that we are consulted, even by the Supreme Court judges on certain issues. We are consulted by even the politicians and the presidents. But to just come and think that these guys are down, they can't understand something, it's a worst insult.
So, Pastor Chiluba, just to add on to it, there were articles there, proposals that we vehemently stood against. And when we went before the select committee as representatives,
at Parliament.
At Parliament, we began to outline those things. They cross-examined us. Why? And we answered. And some of it is even on video on the same Facebook page. We didn't hide it. For anyone to accuse the clergy to say they don't think, they are being disingenuous, because they can go and listen to the video and hear whether somebody had made us robots or we were thinking. And even the document itself, the way we wrote it, the way we framed our positions, guess what? Over 90% of it has been adopted into the report. We are not saying it has been passed, because why? It has to be subjected to a debate. But 90% plus of what we proposed has been adopted. In other words, where we said we don't want deputy ministers, no, we don't want executives to make decisions how to accrue date for the country. Why would you go there?
It should go through Parliament.
It should go through Parliament as the Constitution requires today. And we stand with the Bank of Zambia when they presented that. And we are saying this is the way it's supposed to be. And we presented all those areas where we disagreed with Bill 10. And then also areas where we agreed with Bill 10. Now they will tell you, Pastor Chiluba, when they hear your clergy, they will think you only went there to talk about Christian nation. First of all, Christian nation has been in the preamble of our constitution. Even before the current one, the 2016 one. It was there. So why would that become the main factor? Yes, it's our impassioned desire. Because why? We're a Christian nation.
That's right.
And if we're a Christian nation, why should I be shy from telling people that actually we've declared ourselves a Christian nation? I go to the United States regularly, and I tell them, and I say there, we are the only country in the world that is constitutionally and democratically declared a Christian nation. And over 80% of the Mungomba review, they said we want to be a Christian nation.
Actually, Bishop John Mambo sat on the Mungomba Commission.
Yes.
And he says the whole country where they went, they said they want to be there.
We are just being even conservative. That's why we're just saying 80% plus. You know, because that is a statistic that is there, a statistic that is there at the Central Statistics Office. They know it. But the point is this, when they accuse us to say, why are you even looking into that document? You are supporting it. And I corrected something today of the Daily Mail. Zambia Daily Mail. You know, Zambia Daily Mail had this nice catchy headline, you know, that support Bill 10. And then they go, you know, the overseer of capital impact ministries, you know, has said they should support Bill 10. And I'm sitting there, I'm saying, are they...
That was in today's paper?
Yesterday's paper.
Yesterday.
And I'm thinking, are they serious? If they really know what the process is like, why would they say, we are simply endorsing, say, support Bill 10? What we are endorsing and supporting are the changes we want made.
That's right.
The proposals we submitted. And those are the ones we are saying, pay attention to them. Now, Pastor Chiluba, let me just touch on one or two. Article 4. Article or Clause 4. In the process of wanting to amend our constitution, we have this multi-religious.
Multi-religious,
the multi-religious thing. And we posed a question. Why would you have multi-religious when you consider yourself a Christian nation? We went back and forth to discuss that matter. And our proposal was that it should be Christian, not multi-religious. But also knowing that others constitutionally are also protected. Why? Because they have the liberty and free conscience to worship the way they want. And the freedom of worship in Zambia has been going on for how long? Even when over 80% are Christian.
That's right. That's right.
For how long has it been going on? Have we ever gone and we have bombed a mosque?
Absolutely.
Or a Hindu temple because we are Christians? No. Those things have not happened in Zambia.
And those churches were there. These other worshippers. Even before independence.
Exactly.
So we just came and took.
And so we are a Christian nation that also at the center of it is that love others.
That's right.
As you love yourself. Therefore, we would not actually go there and try to create problems for another religion.
Absolutely.
Now we said, if you go to France, France has declared itself a secularist state. How did they declare themselves a secularist state? Democratically. Are there Christians in France? Yes, there are. But they live under what? The predominant secular nation. If you go to Saudi Arabia today, they are called a what? Islamic Republic of Saudi Arabia. They don't call it anything else. It's Islamic Republic. If you go to Saudi Arabia today, are there Christians in Saudi Arabia? And I don't want to say it out loud.
No, they are not.
No, I'm just saying they are there, but they are not free.
Yes, they
to worship the way. I went to Dubai with my wife a while back, since I've been back to Zambia. I went to Dubai to buy some equipment for the church and the truck, you know, the container truck for the church. The first thing I asked, because there was a brother in the Lord who was working for Swift Freight, living in Dubai. And I said, when we come, we want to go to church. And he says, yeah, you can go to church. But here in Dubai, and this is Dubai we are talking about, where people flock, even the people that oppose, you know, our Christian declaration. They flock there for whatever wealth they can get out of that place. Guess what? Our friend told us and said, the only place you can worship is a fenced-in facility.
Really?
Yeah. The UAE government has built a facility where there are different halls and then a big wall fence. And I'm saying this, my wife is watching. One of our pastors, Pastor Stalin, she's watching. I want you to know, we were the three of us
No.
We said, you mean you go to church in the Wharf and says, yeah, you have to see on the list when your church is due to worship, because they will use the same halls. All Christians.
Wow.
They cannot set up a church outside of that wall fence.
Right.
And we're told you cannot preach the gospel on the street. And this is a place where people flock. And they consider us, when we say we're a Christian nation, and we can allow temples and mosques to be springing up.
You are spending your money there, they don't ask you.
No,
this
is
money
it? No. They'll get it. They'll get it. That's why even the Westerners have invested heavily in it. But you see, they can invest in there, knowing that there are all these religious connotations. If you go to Dubai Airport, Dubai Airport we're talking about, there are prayer rooms for Islam.
Even at Ethiopia Airport.
Now, for us, when we say we're a Christian nation, we want to be sheepish. For we are not saying we should be obnoxious. But the fact is that we need to what? Actualize who we are.
Absolutely.
And then that is just one aspect where we said multi-religious should actually, and they adopted it, by the way.
Yeah,
in the
Bishop,
recommendations.
Sorry for interrupting.
No problem, yeah.
You know, one of my friends,
Yes.
he went through Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And he had a Bible.
Yeah.
They confiscated it.
Oh, yeah.
They said, don't bring this book here.
Exactly.
This is a holy land.
Yes.
And don't talk about Christianity. Because
Yeah.
he went as a diplomat, but holding the Bible, they got it away.
Exactly. And we don't want to, create a sense in which we are pointing out only one nation, because there are many Islamic nations.
No, I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
Those nations,
Examples.
they are very proud.
Yeah, of being who they are.
Of being who they are. And
Exactly.
they don't apologize.
They don't. They don't. In fact, a member of our church way back went to Dubai on Ramadan. Do you know what Ramadan is? It's a religious thing. And everyone has to shut down for Ramadan. You don't eat in public on Ramadan. No, that is a nation that is prospering even economically.
Oh.
Huh? But they have a religious inclination that they actually uphold. And this is what our member did. He didn't know that Ramadan you're not supposed to eat in public. He found a Kentucky Fried Chicken. And this is his own testimony.
Really?
And he buys, and then you see they forget to tell him, you are a foreigner. It's Ramadan now. When you get your food in there, don't eat outside. You have to go eat it in your hotel room. Our friend, they didn't tell him. So he gets a Kentucky Fried Chicken in there, and sits outside. Within few minutes, he was surrounded by police.
No.
They picked him up, and this is a testimony. It's not like we are talking about something that is hidden. Even he himself can tell you. I don't want to mention his name on public platform like this. They arrested him and took him for interrogation. He had to be released out of jail after evening. Because you are not supposed to eat during the daytime in public. Now, those are nations that we admire. We admire them. But then when we say we are a Christian nation, and we are not multi-religious, we should define who our true identity. Because we have already declared ourselves a Christian nation. Let's go forward and declare ourselves again as a Christian nation.
Not multi-religious.
Not multi-religious. They can worship and they can do that. But we are not multi-religious. That they adopted and put it in the recommendations to Parliament. The other one, where they rejected what we proposed. Pastor Chiluba, we had proposed and said, if you go to clause or article 8 of our constitution where it says national values, the national values that are there, the first one, the very first one, it is there. The very first one that you find there, it will tell you and say, national values, principles, and economic policies, 8. The national values and principles are A, morality and ethics. And then they go on patriotism and national unity, democracy and constitutionalism, human dignity, equity, social justice, equality, and non-discrimination. E, good governance and integrity. F, sustainable development. Those are the values. Now we said, listen, morality and ethics. What kind of morality are we talking about? Can you tell us what you mean by morality? Because why? Morality is anchored in a worldview, how you think and conduct your life. That's what morality is. How you tell what is right and what is
wrong.
On what basis are you going to judge what is right and what is wrong? That's the question we raise.
We need a criteria.
We need a premise upon which we say the morality we are talking about is this. If you go to France, their moral compass is secularist. You go to Iran today, their moral compass is Islam, the Quran. Now, mentioning few. It means, when they tell us and say, it will be very difficult for judges to deal with how they can judge. This is how I asked, and we keep asking them. We say, listen, do you know that even our current laws that the judges base their judgment on are Christian-based?
Absolutely.
Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Where did it come from? The British left it here because they believed in what? Christian values.
From the Bible, yeah.
They didn't call it Christian values, but they picked from the Bible. So the judges are sitting there doing what? Effecting what the Bible says. So what would be wrong for us to say our morality is Christian morality and Christian ethics? Because if you say no, just make it morality. This is for my philosophical education anyway. I did my undergraduate, my BA is in religion and philosophy. And I've done my philosophy also at the postgraduate level. The point is this: if you are going to talk about morality and you leave it general, this is what you're allowing. In a secularist state, morality is what is actually based on humanistic philosophy or inclination. It means a human being is at the center of deciding what is right and what is wrong. So what you are saying is that as human beings, let's decide what is right and wrong. And then as you are deciding what is right and wrong, what you think, what you say is right. On the other hand, you can again go and commit the same crime. So what would be the ultimate criteria of what is right and wrong? And then we told them, we said, if it is a worldview, it's the way you think and conduct your life. How does Zambia define its morality? That is where the identity comes from. First of all, if you go into a village setting or you go into our own traditions, do you know that we have traditions that govern what is right and what is wrong?
Of course.
Aha!
Of course.
Now we are saying it's a nation of 73 tribes. How do we define our morality? Because I can go to another corner of Zambia, they will define morality differently. I'll go to another differently. And if I go to a place where I don't want to confuse our viewers with a lot of words, but they are asking us to have a relativistic morality. What that means, let me break it down. This is what they're saying. What feels right to you, then it's right. That's relativism.
And if it doesn't feel right?
If it doesn't feel right, it's not right. So basically they want us to be deciding morality in a loose way. Because if you anchor it in Christian, they are saying, what will the judges rule? And then this is how we explain it. We say, listen, philosophically, if you have a judge sitting behind the bench, do you think that they are sitting there without any worldview?
Or religious background?
That's what I'm just saying, worldview, in terms of how they think, how they conduct their life, how life is supposed to be conducted. How do they come to say, hey, that is wrong? It's because it was framed in the law to say what? That is wrong. And where does the law come from? Legislature. The judges don't make laws.
They merely interpret what is already written here.
So why are we concerned about the judges? Because if the legislation decides, the judge cannot change it.
That's right.
So basically we are saying, which morality are we talking about here? Which morality am I going to tell my grandkids and say, you know what, one of our national values is morality and ethics. And then my grandkid says, which one?
Which morality?
That's why we said here, They rejected it when we said Christian morality.
Yeah.
We said, can you look at how it has cascaded? It has begun from where we have already declared ourselves in the preamble as a Christian nation. Then we go into Article 4. You, the same parliamentarians, select committee, you accept it and say, yes, let's take multi-religious out and put Christian. Now we bring you down to values, because values are now going to be the ones to guide us. Even when you say Ministry of National Guidance, how are they going to guide you? Which morality are they going to guide you on? Therefore, here we said, listen, I think here we have gone divergent ways. We have gone separate ways. Because you have dropped what we suggested, because you are afraid it will be hard for judges to decide. And then the lawyers themselves, will have a difficult time to frame how to say, do they have to go to theological school? That's what they were saying. Do they have to go to theological school? And then, it is one of those where you are actually thinking and saying, are we serious about thinking about these things, or we just want to maintain what was given to us? So that we can be secular. That's a loophole. That's a loophole. Because who's going to define it? Now, this is what we said. Can you imagine? You are saying they should go to theological school. Our churches are full of people.
And
if they're going to theological school.
No,
the question is, are they all going to theological school? No. But what do they call themselves? Christian. Do they live according to Christian values? They do. So to live a Christian value, you don't have to go to theological school.
Even judges, Bishop.
Yeah.
Judges themselves.
They are in church.
They are in church.
They hear what values do they live by?
And we give them values.
And then this is what we said. We said, listen, even on a very simple and complicated thought, do you know that a non-believer who doesn't even go to church can tell you, if you say you're a Christian and say, a Christian doesn't do that. Now, where did you learn how to judge a Christian the way they're supposed to?
That's right. Yeah.
Because that is now morality you're talking about. You're talking about ethics. Now you we're on street you. You will share something that theology. Why should I shouldn't be doing that? No, there is a way in which in God's economy he created us, and he created us in reference to his ultimate right and wrong.
And that's what Romans 1 says.
Therefore, what we interpret as judiciary and judicial laws and legislation is coming and the judiciary has to practice that. We are simply doing just that judicial system. That is also reflecting to the ultimate, and that is God. So basically, the excuses being given are not that legitimate. They're not. And that's where we are saying, there are some things that in Bill 10 we said we don't want. There are some that we said we accept. Now, if people want to just unnecessarily be belligerent, one thing they ought to know is that you can be belligerent. It's your rightful position. You are in a democratic society. In a democratic society, don't force me to be you, to think like you're thinking.
And the worst part, Bishop, like you have explained, and thank God for your explanation. The worst part about social media and our nation sometimes, we don't tend to digest information. Anything that comes, they will just tell you, Bill 10 is demonic, rejected.
Yes.
Why will I?
But without showing you.
Yeah.
Up to now, I want someone who can sit with me and show me. First of all, this is where, again, we have to understand. When Bill 10 came out, it came from the National Dialogue Forum. In its form.
All parties were.
Not all. Some were boycotted.
Or some boycotted.
Yeah. But you see, they were boycotting because why? They didn't agree on very simple or basic things. They didn't agree on who should chair it. They didn't agree on the composition of how many people from government and how many people, from the private sector.
That's those.
The point I emphasize here is that NDF had a mandate based on the National Dialogue Act of Parliament 2019, and they had even given them the terms of reference, and those terms of reference were very clear. Even up to today, you can go read the document. Very clear. So the problem was not in the area of whether we want to change or refine our constitution. That was not the issue. The issue was politicking now.
Oh.
And when, politicking begins, what it does is this, it sends us into, and I'm sorry to say this, almost insanity. Because you see, each one in their own person. Why are people fighting and killing each other because they belong to different parties? That's insanity. To me, how do you have your fellow Zambian hacked to death just because they hold a different view from yours? Isn't that a betrayal of ignorance at its highest? Isn't that the way you can actually ascribe and say, maybe the politics we are practicing today are practices of what? Ignorance.
Primitive politics.
Yes. Because why? In a democracy, you should be prepared to accept anyone who stands in a different view. Don't characterize them and insult them because they stand on a different view. If you are PF and you are UPND, why should you be killing each other? Why should you be fighting each other? Over what? Tell me what you are fighting over. That is what this is. There are those who are saying, don't actually even touch it. We've been insulted.
We've
been insulted, and we're telling them, sorry not to cut you short, man of God.
Go ahead, sir.
This is what I'm saying. They don't even actually pay attention to what you are saying. That actually I went there, or we went there as a team, and every fraternal Christian group that went and presented, they went there to say we will speak into the formulation of our supreme law. We are not going to stay away. And we will address that which is wrong, that we see is wrong, and we will accept that which is right and emphasize what is right. So that why? In a democracy and in a parliamentary governance system, I cannot make a law on my own. It has to go to not even executive, not even the president can make the law. It has to go to parliament. Another arm of government from the executive to go and debate and deliberate on the law. So we are telling them, we're saying, what we want is this. When they meet in February, we want them to go and debate there knowing what we, the citizens, have voiced out. And guess what? In a democracy, that is the beauty of it, is that even as they are debating, we will be watching them. Even as they are deciding and voting, we will be watching them.
Absolutely.
If we find someone just belligerent and they want to take us in the wrong direction, guess what? As a constituency, if we don't agree with our MP, guess what? We have a ballot.
Of course. And
and that's not a threat, it's just democracy.
And you know what, Bishop? What you are saying, that you want us to participate.
Yes.
This is the scripture we read, that we are the salt.
We are the salt.
We're just adding flavor to say this is not in line with the word of God.
So, man of God, all the things we're hearing are these, and I say this, those who have stood against butane wholesale, they have a right to do that. But we don't insult them. We don't mischaracterize them. You see, that is where the difference is. If you know what you believe in and it's different from the other, you are mature enough to realize and say, there is no infallibility here. I'm not trying to prove I'm infallible.
Sorry, Bishop, to cut you short. I was reading some comments. And over the same butane, and somebody recently, I think last week or so, said if anyone is going to vote for PF, is an idiot.
Of course, we were shocked
now
to hear
in
that.
a democratic country, you call other people because they differ from your opinion. You say you're an idiot. Suppose it's your father who votes, or your uncle somewhere. Are you saying that is an idiot? You are the mature one. You know, some of these things, Bishop, like I said, you correctly said that you are not partisan.
No.
And you know, people don't know. I say this and I'm on record. People didn't know that I worked with President Sata for 24 years. And if there are people that he told that he was going to be president one day, I'm one of them. He called me home. Mama Christine Kasaba can testify. He called me home and he said, that was 1996, Bishop. He said, President Chiloba, this is the last time I'm going to be president. Pray for me. I prayed for him twice and what. And even when he asked me to say, Pastor, I want you to help me as Minister of Home Affairs. I said, sir, inendalila. Shakosa, because it's China, I'll abuse it. But I declined, knowing that if I stand in church and I start saying, Pabwato, what will they think of me?
Yeah, what about those who are not Pabwato?
What about those who are not Pabwato?
How do I deal with them as their pastor?
Deal with them? So I had to be, people didn't know, except those who are close to me, who know that I actually was advising that man at a distance. But when I stand to preach, I cannot influence somebody to say, vote for this one, vote. No. The best I can do is pray about it.
Exactly.
Let God lead you. So what you are saying, Bishop, is that it is amazing that we want democracy, but we don't practice democracy.
No, we don't. We don't. And in fact, man of God, what you have just touched on is very significant. We are very immature in our democracy. Because you see, even the very educated people that you expect, these are educated. They should understand that even in education, we who actually have gone into these halls of academics and all that, that you don't go there to just hear what the professor tells you. You go there to assess, analyze, scrutinize theories, and then if you go into research, you are digging into something to prove objectively that this thing is correct or it's wrong. Now, bring them into politics. Bring them into national issues. They lose it. Anyone who says, for me, my stand is this, they begin to call you names. Oh, you, these poor preachers. We've been called poor preachers. And then I sit at home with my wife and I say, they think I'm poor. Let them think I'm poor. Because I'm not poor. And I'm not saying I'm getting money from the church to be who I am. No. In fact, I wrote even that. What I don't realize is that some of us, when we came, there was no ministry. There was no capital. Today they say, how did capital start? If there is a company today that has started and you're an entrepreneur and one day a company becomes Microsoft, what happened when you were in the garage? What happened when you were in the garage? Therefore, when you actually now begin to look good, they say you're stealing money from the church. Stealing money from where? And if we have accountability systems in the church, you go and ask the people who manage them and tell them and say, oh, Bishop Mbolo, does he steal your money? And whatever it is. But these poor, they're bribed by government. I don't know that thing where it came from in Zambia. I'm saying this.
Because out of the abundance of the earth. Those same people.
I don't know where that thing came from. That actually if you are opposed to their view or you don't support their view, immediately they categorize you as being of the ruling party. Surrogate. For you, there is no objective position you can take unless you accept them. To me, that's why I say, you know what? You are going to find out that I'm not easily manipulated, whether it's by the ruling or the opposition parties. Why? Because anything that I say I agree with, it's because I processed it. And I'm convinced that this is something that is right. If it is wrong, no matter how much money you dangle before me, it will never change me.
Bishop, there are some politicians watching who have come in contact with my wife and I. When I came into close contact with President Satame, so rest in peace, it's because I issued a statement that even if MMD comes into power, without God, they cannot fix the economy. That statement betrayed me. They said you were sponsored by Kaunda. President Sata came, we were living in Avondale that time at the 7th quarter. And he said, living at the 7th quarter, where did you get the money to block TV, radio stations and all that? That was the argument. When he went to Finance Bank, he discovered actually, instead of me using the money, which I was being graciously given from West Indies, Antigua, I was pumping it in the ministry.
Exactly.
Like you are saying. I live in a rented house up to now because we sold our house in Kablonga.
And those are the true things. They don't realize it. Man of God, not to cut you short. That's very true. You see, when they look, and there are a lot of accusations on social media. They look at Mbolo, he's on ZNBC TV, he's on this, and they look at it, wow, this man must really be milking the church. And you are thinking, you know what, I cannot go and tell everybody how I live my life because there has to be a certain level of privacy. But surely, you think I'm robbing God in order to survive? Why would I do that when I'm even preaching that God sees what is even in secret? I get paid what I'm supposed to be paid, which was agreed upon by others. It was not me who said, hey, if you don't pay me this much, you... And whatever I get paid, it is not even equivalent to what I should be paid.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because of my qualifications, if I were to say, hey, if you are qualified like I am, how much should we be paid? I don't even demand that. To me, I just say, as long as I live with my wife and we are happy and we have all this, but the Lord blesses us in a lot of ways. Like you said, man of God, I've been renting a house for 18 years now.
Really?
I had a house in America. I bought a house. You know that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. And there are other people who would come and live in our house. I bought a house with my wife. When we sold that house, guess where the money went?
In the ministry.
The equity that we got, where did we put it? We bought equipment and things for the ministry. Now someone says, oh, they are poor people. How can I be poor when I'm making decisions like that?
You know, Bishop, I think we have a lot.
Yeah.
And one thing I tell the...
But of course, I'm building a big house.
Yeah.
By the way,
it
a
is
beautiful
important.
house. Yeah. I'm building a big
important.
house so that they know that actually one day I'll move into my big house. So
Absolutely.
it's not like I've stolen from anybody.
One thing
Yeah.
I say, Bishop, is that what kills this nation,
Yeah.
I've said this even to politicians when we meet, is lack of information.
Of course.
Because you don't disseminate information. Somebody will just come and say, Bishop Mbula,
Yeah.
you know this butane
Yeah.
will take us to hell.
No, you're saying, where is it taking us to hell? You haven't even spoken into it. Have you changed anything in it?
Yeah.
If you have seen where it will take us to hell, why don't you propose what will not take us to hell? Huh?
So we have a lot, especially
Yeah.
for me and my wife, Bishop.
Yeah.
I know we are unpopular. I know
Yeah.
that because one of the things that I've said is the next elections, 2021,
Yeah.
when somebody comes and say, I'm going to be member of parliament, ask them who's your pastor. Which church do you go to? We don't want Satanists.
Yeah.
You vote somebody who cannot submit
Yeah.
to a pastor.
Yeah.
He thinks a pastor is just there to bury them
Yeah.
or to officiate at the wedding.
Yeah.
Those are the three roles of a pastor: to baptize, bury,
Yeah.
and officiate at the wedding.
Yeah.
And when
it's
somebody's job
unbelievable.
finishes there,
Yeah.
they are retired, then they say, I'll go into the ministry.
Yeah.
Because there they've become irrelevant.
No,
The
we
perception of the
yeah.
servants of God is
Yes.
not up to them.
So coming back, really, let's guide those who are viewers that actually, Pastor Chiluba, the thing is that if you have not read for yourself, you will be guided by any wind
I'm telling
of thought that comes your way.
I'm telling you.
And you know what amazes me is when I read sometimes on social media what people are saying. And then I am asking, have they even read? Really, have they read what is there? Because it's open for anyone to read.
But you
You
realize,
see,
Bishop,
Bill 10
yeah.
and the report put together, they go to they'll be in Parliament in February. Bill 10 and the report of the Select Committee.
And some members of
Now,
parliament, they will
yes.
just vote based on social media.
You know, and that's where I said, you see, when someone is blinded by their own political affiliation, they forget that the reason why they're in Parliament, it's the constituency that voted them. And if that constituency decides and says, we want this, and then they go against it, what should be the democratic process? The democratic process is this: you cannot represent me. You cannot represent me if you actually are going to trash or throw away everything that I think is valuable to me in the majority. Now, this is where I tell people, and I say, you see, it's not a threat. Because people hear it as a threat when you say, oh, I'll go and vote. But that's our constitutional right to be given one vote. Therefore, I will not waste that vote on anyone that I don't think they are representing me. They are representing their own interests or their own political interests. They are not representing me. Because why? First of all, the country is not full of political affiliates. That's what they forget. This country is full of people who don't belong to any party.
Absolutely.
But they are citizens and they are voters as well.
Even when you see the votes,
Now you ask
more than
yourself,
12 million. The president doesn't win over 5 million. It's
now that's what we're saying. Look, if you are that belligerent in your view that you don't want to even hear me, what do you think is going to happen? Because I'm not part of your political party, but I'm going to vote. And I have a voter's card, actually. I go to vote. What do I vote when I go there? I vote what I think is representing me better.
I'm telling you, Bishop, let me cut you short. We've gone, but let me just open up for phones.
Okay.
In case some people
want to talk to us.
Cabinet TV is a family. Wonderful people. Mr. Director, please just give us a brief break so that those messages can flow in, and let's have some few people to call. May the Lord bless you. Mr. Director, just a brief break. Thank you so much.
Here are the contract papers. Excuse me, sir, but this means I have to join your fraternity. Yes. I don't know. I'm sorry, sir, but this is against my faith. I'll give you 2 days to think about it, then you get back to me.
Than snow, deeper than the ocean, wider than the sea, higher than the mountain. You're my everything. You are great. You are kind. Oh, Daddy, in you I put my trust. To walk again. For everything I am, I owe to you. Oh, Binigwe, there is nothing impossible or too hard for you to do. You are bigger than what we call you. You're bigger than our problems, bigger than the pain. You are bigger than what we call you. Oh, Daddy, in you I put my trust. You work again. For You are bigger than what we call you. You are bigger than. You are bigger than a problem. Bigger than a problem. Yes, you are. Bigger than the pain. Bigger than the pain. The heaven is your throne. Heaven and the earth. You reign in majesty. You reign in majesty. You are bigger than a problem. You are bigger than a problem. You are bigger than the pain. Yeah. Bigger than the pain. No one can deny the world. Heaven and the earth. What's the million? You reign in majesty. In you I put my trust. You are bigger than the problem. Jesus, you are bigger. Heaven and earth adore you, Jesus. All creation bows your feet. You reign in majesty. All the angels bow down and worship you. Yeah. Jesus, there is power in your name. You crown that surrounds only you, God, bigger, yeah. So it's like unto thee, no one in heaven and earth. Oh, God, oh, you reign.
Dear Camnet TV viewers, this is a very educative program. We read from Matthew chapter 5, 13, 14, 15, and 16, where Jesus said, "You are the light, you are the salt." It is so amazing how the devil has convinced the world that Christians are not supposed to be in politics. Why do you leave the politics to Satanists? Why do you want to be governed by the Satanists?
Yeah.
They will tell you politicians, politics are worldly, they are dirty. That is the view which is breeding people that are stealing, corrupt, they are what? But when somebody has the fear of God, they will know that my first accountability is to God.
It's the Almighty.
There are a lot of views that come which are not okay. And when my wife and I, Bishop, we've been in ministry, you know that
Of
we
course,
followed you people.
Yes.
From 1982, I've been a pastor. Went into Bible college, graduated in 84.
Yes.
And it hasn't been easy. When we were suffering, nobody called me a Satanist.
Yeah.
The moment we built this church, opened up Camnet TV, they said, these are Satanists. So when you are suffering is not associated with Satanism, but success.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of views, Bishop, that come out of this. Dear Camnet TV viewers, we have Bishop Mbulo, who has sat on many platforms, and you have heard him articulate the issues that concerns us. When you go to vote, the price of meal does not just affect politicians. It affects even you who pray more. We go to the same hospital, to the same shops, so if you don't get involved as the sort, like we said yesterday with my wife, when you are cooking beef on the stove, you don't put salt around on the stove, you put it in the pot. And this is where we are. Bishop, it is a joy and an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you so
there are a lot of people who are being governed by social media.
Well, it's unfortunate.
They just go by what social media says.
Yeah. You know, a very powerful tool, effective tool, and yet twisted.
Oh, there's someone calling.
Yeah.
Yes, please. What's your name? Sorry, I don't even have where to write. What's your name?
I'm Mrs. Kinemba. I'm calling you from Undola.
You are Mrs. who?
Mrs. Kinemba.
Chilemba.
Kinemba.
Oh, Kinemba. Please go ahead and contribute.
I'm calling you from Undola. My biological name is Dorcas Nkukwa.
Okay.
I'm very happy to hear about what you have done with them, and we are very much encouraged as upcoming Christians.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. My husband is an elder, the church, Emmanuel Congregation Church. We are under Bishop Kabwebo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are in the ministry of planting churches.
Yeah.
So listening to what you were just saying, we are very much encouraged. No, it's not an easy thing to be in a ministry.
Yeah.
When you see someone called by the name of a pastor,
Yeah.
live pastors, it's not an easy thing. You're really waiting for God.
Yes.
And may God grant you more and more life.
Amen.
You need to live a long life so that you may see great grandchildren.
Amen.
The Bible says that with long life will I satisfy you in the book of Psalm 21.
Yes.
We are very much encouraged.
Amen.
Keep on encouraging us, and the Bishop, Bishop
Bishop Umbulo, George
I'm
Umbulo.
always encouraged by your wife.
Amen.
Kapwe Ilangula.
Amen.
She always gives me.
Amen.
And right now I'm sitting near my husband. When we are watching you, I always tell him that, Dad, to me I want our couple to be like this.
Amen.
One day I was telling him, when the time we go to Lusaka, we have to go to this church.
Well, we are encouraged.
Anointing, there's that union between you and your wife.
Amen.
If it's even Bishop Umbrella, I watched him a long time ago. I'm happy to see him today, and today he's talking about grandchildren.
Yes.
Last time I saw him, he was talking about children. Today he's talking about my
Grandchildren, yes.
God bless you.
Thank you very much.
God bless you, Madam
bless you too.
Kinemba. But have you heard what we are saying here with the Bishop, Madam?
What?
Have you heard the point that the Bishop is bringing up here is that as Christians, let's get united, not united on the platform of politics,
Yeah.
but we should speak as one voice and bring sanity in the nation of Zambia.
Exactly. We have to bring sanity in the nation of Zambia for sure.
Amen.
Amen.
We need to stand as believers. We don't need to pretend.
Yeah.
Amen.
We need to stand, as children of God. When Christ was
Yeah.
he never used to pretend. When they took him to Herod, the day he was asked, he did not pretend. He just said, "Yes, I am."
Amen.
Even in we don't need to pretend. We need to be real.
Yes.
You have to stand with that right Christian.
If we continue living, having Christians like you, I'm telling you, the nation will change.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
May God bless you,
God bless
Madam.
you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Greet your husband and the family. We are so delighted to have you and Coas. Thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah.
Bishop, this is what you were saying, that
yes.
we being the salt, we can change.
We can inspire.
Your life was transformed. I was a boxer.
Yes, yes.
And somebody cannot even imagine that at one time I took marijuana. They thought I was just born a preacher like this. But the gospel has the power to transform someone's life.
It does, because, the power of the Holy Spirit to transform our inner heart
Amen.
is what is in God's hands. He knows us more than we even know ourselves. And you know, when we are told in the word that you have life and life eternal, people tend to wonder what that is. Actually, God intended for us to live according to his principles.
Amen.
That's how he created us.
And even our constitution,
exactly,
when it's formulated
in that way,
there
is a fulfillment
Zambia
that comes. Zambia already we are a blessed nation.
Amen.
You know, because this nation, even though we are tagging at each other and pulling each other, we don't realize how blessed we are, in the sense that
let's pick up this call. Hello?
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Who are we speaking to and from where?
I'm calling from Kafue.
From Kafue. What's your name, sir?
My name is Stanislas.
Who?
Chipulu Stanislas.
Chipulu.
Chipulu?
Stanislas.
Okay, Chipulu Stanislas.
Nikwena moyo kyashibandi barara ndamusinga.
Mkwai.
Ikiwa banana ndabi. Mkwai ikiwa banana ndabi. Ndipo kwako ngachakwera imwe marisa kwatamba.
Ngachakwera di? Your line is not so clear. If you can turn down the volume, maybe. Please ask again. We are trying to get your.
We've lost him.
So sorry
Yeah,
about
from Kafue,
this.
Chipulu.
Mr. Chipulu Stanislas.
Yes.
From Kafue. Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Please call again. Yes, Bishop, you were about to speak.
Yes, you know,
about the goodness of the gospel.
The goodness of the gospel, and then also to be able to, I was talking about, you know, how blessed we are
As a nation,
as a
that's
nation,
right.
how blessed we are, that we have a nation where God is acknowledged. No matter what people say, just the fact that you are in a nation where God is acknowledged,
Amen.
it means that our nation is blessed. Blessed is the nation whose God is
the Lord.
Is the Lord. And you know, I was reading President Kaunda's second anniversary speech, which you shared with me. And even as far back
65.
as 65, he was saying as a Christian nation.
I'm telling you.
You know? And it's amazing how that sometimes we think this thing is a new thing. And yet a nation has always talked about it.
I'm telling you.
And that is evidence to say, second anniversary of the country, the president is talking about we the Christians. Have you ever read that on Comnet? Have you ever read that?
My wife read it the other day, but we want to produce it and so that we can, Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Mkwai nicho kulanda pochimoniki. Nataka sana kwena mwewa kiashwandi pali programu wense wabiri nesani pali. Mkwai icho nataka kulanda poniki ne mukuchimona kwandi na chimona kwati muma politics mufumemo.
Tufumemo.
Politics na mwewa kiashwandi na reza awe shuwa kwena ine mukuchimona kwandi. Nga mwafuma mufyo kufunina mufyo. That's why namuri Bible yaliranda okwewa ati ifya kwatwale nkuli kaisara ifya kwareka fibe kuli leka nina kimono okwewa ati okufunina mufyo wabapo bwino ero kimbina kyumva kuli batata abafyashibandikira bakyewa ati ku Islamic n'amaizo baba bantu ama Muslims all over the world one church. Now why Christians so many churches? When Malama Muslim is one church all over the world. Number two, Christians, ama churches yafura. Number two, mwalaba pingula shani ba PF na ba UPND na ba MMG. Nje mwapapeni so mwikere muri ama churches ya kuseni. Kulina yambi. Na mfome kalipangili ati Well, Uganda is a Christian nation twakirika ekyo ekikimu bintu kutifya bwembako n'ekyongo kutifyapo n'amaparties yambika ekikulu because yalaba one Zambia one nation.
Bakikulu mwebikapo phone first mwipushe. You see, Mr. Chipulu, yes.
Maybe I can just answer. I don't know whether I should answer in Bemba because he's speaking Bemba, or I should just go in English.
We can summarize because there are people who are listening through the internet. But to summarize, the first thing is telling Bishop Mbulu and myself to come out of politics. Which I wanted to say, which party do I belong to?
No, actually, which politics are we
talking about? He misunderstood the whole thing.
Yes.
I wanted to hold him when he is listening, so that I think he didn't even listen. He has not heard our views. Exactly. When you said, I want somebody to come and tell me which party I belong to. He didn't hear all those things, so it's a misunderstanding. Secondly,
he was talking about the Muslims
being one. What he doesn't know, like we have UCZ, the Baptists, he doesn't know that Muslims have a lot of sects.
Yes.
He doesn't know. So to him, he just thinks Islam is one religion because they use the Quran.
Yes.
We use the Bible. How come there is UCZ, there is he doesn't understand that.
Yes.
But you can say what you want to say, Bishop.
Yes, I was going to just say, Bachpulu, and I know quite Mletamba. Let me just speak English anyway.
For the sake of the broader.
Mr. Chipulu, you know, when you say, please get out of politics, we just want to find out what you actually mean. My assumption is that you are thinking, when we talk about the Constitution, we are talking about politics. What he doesn't realize, Mr. Chipulu, what you should realize is this. The law itself is not politics. Mafunde ayachalo amafunde yachalo bonse fye yala tukumako when you go to the village or wherever chiefdom, there are rules there that govern a chiefdom. Those rules themselves, it doesn't matter who comes into the chiefdom. They have to abide and live by those rules. Therefore, Mr. Chipulu, we are preachers. I've never been a politician. I've never been involved in politics.
Not even me.
But the Constitution itself is not politics. The Constitution is the law of the land, and therefore we are saying, what kind of laws do we want that will govern us, so that we can live by those laws? So that one, Bachpulu, I think you needed to wait a little. If
just like Bishop. You have put it so well. What Mr. Chipulu didn't understand, laws and politics are two different things. Recently, the American ambassador, Mr. Fute, compared corruption to homosexuality, wanting us to accept homosexuality. Suppose they pass the law to say Zambia now, a man can marry a man, a woman. Is that to do with politics?
No, it's the law now that you.
It's not understanding between the law and the politics.
Yes.
He just comes to say, get out of there.
No, just because you are addressing the law and the Constitution, and then the Constitution is involving politicians, it thinks it's politics. No, we are actually, Mr. Chipulu, we are trying to inform even the politicians, even the parliamentarians, that according to what the masses want, according to what the citizens want, and we have established how in Zambia, as a Christian nation, that in the majority, when we come and we say we are clergy and we are submitting, we are not submitting in a vacuum.
Absolutely.
We are representing people who are in our constituents. And those people who are in our constituents, they want to hear what the law says about their moral standing, their moral position. They want to hear, is it Christian morality, or we are talking about some other morality, secular morality? Because if you don't put that there, definitely you are going to open it up now to be secular.
Bishop, what Mr. Chipulu, like you said, he should have waited. Because you know South Africa is the first country in Africa to accept homosexuals and the LGBT. That is now in their constitution.
Yeah.
They've removed this death penalty. The South African constitution now is secular. They have nothing to do with Christianity, what.
Yeah.
So he's not understanding that after Cyril Ramaphosa, whoever will come will be governing South Africa.
Same laws.
By the same, whether from the opposition or ANC.
Exactly.
And what we are trying to educate here is to say, let's get things straight.
Exactly. Exactly. So anyway.
Anyway, Mr. Director, please give us some messages that have come through. And Team Cabinet, we have got some few minutes. Please call, the Bishop is here and we'll be able to answer. And may God bless you. Hi, Cabinet. Thank you for your teaching. God bless you. People of Lord, I am Mutolwa from Mundola. Mr. Mutolwa, thank you so much for sending this message. My pastors, does it mean that it's only the declaration which is important and not the deeds of the people? Why Isaiah, Isaiah 4:1, I don't see the people, the leadership, the parliament and the judiciary of this nation acting or even consulting the Bible. I only hear and see politicians consult Christians when fiakosa. Are we really a Christian nation? Help me, pastors. Bishop.
When you hear statements like that, first of all, it's a statement that says, are we really a Christian nation? Just because, in their own view, like he said, I think he has generalized a lot of things there.
Yeah.
He has generalized a lot of things.
About declaration and not about...
I can only just say, when actually we see our politicians even making reference to God, doesn't that communicate and say, listen, these people, they are at least going towards the light. They are desiring God. Then when you look at how Christianity has grown even in our country, Pastor Chiluba, you know the history of this country. This country, as we've made reference to 1965, when the President Kaunda then, made that declaration also, that as a Christian nation, we almost became a secular state. This country, we almost moved away from God. People don't realize it. We almost moved away from God because when I was going
to the nation,
when I was going to school, in primary school, we had Danshi Primary School in Kamchanga. When you come to school, we even had very, very strong religious content being taught to us as RE. Religious education.
And we used to pray in class.
And we used to pray. You come at a parade, you're going to pray. You're going to even sing gospel songs. That meant that as we were growing up, even though we found ourselves straying, like it says, train up a child in the way
he should go.
He should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. It means that when we were growing up, and even when we strayed away, we still knew what was right. Therefore, when the gospel came, it found us ready to say, we know what is right. Now, of course, he has generalized a lot of things that is kind of difficult to even harness what he's saying, is that to him, Christianity is not working. When in fact he can actually see it all over. And I just want to remind him and say, look at a nation like us. We have been to other nations. And some of us have even lived in foreign nations for many, many years. And we have seen how it is when you lose that Christian value. Today, in the United States, as a preacher, you cannot go into a high school or primary school, elementary school.
Really?
To teach the word. The teacher in those schools can't even pray. It's against the law. But a nation that one time was actually, even their money says, in God we trust. That's what the dollar says. In God we trust. But you can't even pray. In fact, there are some places where you cannot even open your Bible in the public arena and read it. It is illegal. Now, to me, I'm saying this to say, there is a time when that country really propagated the gospel fully. Not that they've stopped, they're still propagating the gospel. But there are a lot of confinements, a lot of restrictions when it comes to what? Public arena. When it comes to in the government. And of course we have seen, that there's been even a turnaround to what was happening during our brother's reign, President Obama. You know how I have two nations. Me, I just say I live in two nations. I would visit our kids and would go to the United States and all that. We saw even the change from the time we lived there.
Really?
Christians were the ones now being put under pressure that they could not do what they were doing before. Example. Someone owns a confectionery store. Owns a confectionery store, Christian, born again, with the values as a Christian. If you refuse to bake a cake when someone has even come and said, I'm declaring that I'm homosexual, and I want you to bake a cake for me and put in figurines of two men on it. If you say, no, that goes against my values, your values would put you in trouble. But the values of the other person
will be protected.
Now, is that right? That the one who was there before, which is Christian value, it was there before. It is relegated to the side in order to give opportunity to say, oh, it's human rights. But what about the human rights of a Christian? Where do they go? No, those don't matter. Now, that is just a simple example of what could go wrong. Now, in a country like ours, I can go to any primary school, I can go to any high school. If they open the door for me, I can preach the gospel without apologizing. And here we are even preaching the gospel on the air, on television.
In Britain, Bishop, last year, my wife received from our friend Mrs. Mwiko.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mwiko.
Yes.
She sent a write-up that pray for this nurse.
Yeah.
She was dismissed for praying for a patient who was very sick. And she said, look, I believe God can heal you.
Yes.
Just for praying.
Yeah.
She was seen and she was fired and lost her terminal benefits for praying for a patient.
And then the person says, no, Christianity is not working. Where you can freely worship. So it's just, there was a lot of generalities there, generalizations that are hard to even harness. But the fact is, there is evidence to be seen.
And Bishop,
nation, yes.
I was just looking at our national anthem.
Yeah.
The stanza 2.
It's a prayer.
It says, Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hand. Let us all, our people, join as one, brothers under the sun, all one, strong and free. There is God in our national anthem.
And that is prayer.
And you want to remove that and say, no, bring secularism here. There are others who don't believe in God.
No.
Change the national anthem.
No. So really, our country has stood as a model without us actually, trying to drum up our own and toot our own horn. Really, we are a model because there are some, even African nations, that are envious of us.
Absolutely.
The peace that we enjoy here is not just because we are smarter than others.
I've had people, Pastor, come here in the studio. They say, Pastor, foreigners, including some Americans. One Rwandese said, you don't know, you people in Zambia, what you enjoy. The moment this peace is gone, a nation that can even dedicate a day to pray, they get amazed. But Zambians don't see.
No, they don't. Most of them don't.
Some Zambians don't see.
And then, unfortunately, you see, what we look at, we say, oh, the economy is difficult, I cannot put food on the table. That is serious. But the question is, do you want it to be worse? By taking away your faith in God? Is that how you want it to go? Or would you say, Let's do something and solve this problem.
Amen.
You know, I tell people sometimes, because they are very simplistic in their thinking. I'm suffering and all that. And I say, yes, that is very bad. And we want you not to suffer. Let's find a solution. Because there's no nation on the face of the earth where there are no people who are suffering. America. And I've lived in America for a long time, 14 years.
People there.
I can take you to places in America where people are poor. Now, if they are poor in the richest country in the world, what is the issue? What is the issue? So it is very simplistic of us to be able to just blame and throw away the baby with the bathwater. We are having issues in our country that need resolving. And then also even this climate change issue is one that is beyond human control.
Absolutely.
Because there is no any government that would come into power when there is climate change like it is, and there's a drought that they can create rain.
Our borehole here, Bishop.
Yeah.
It's not a political borehole. We had a lot of water.
Exactly.
But the people just told me, Pastor,
the levels have gone down.
Levels have gone down.
Exactly.
That's why you are not pumping up there.
Exactly.
Has that got to do with politics?
No, it doesn't. Karibatam, to go down in water.
Yeah.
Who is going to fill it? Even if we voted them into office today. What we are saying is this. Listen, there are certain things where you talk politics, but there are other things where you just say, as a nation overall, where do we stand?
Absolutely.
I'm here at the studios. I'm going to be driving home. I'm not going to be walking through landmines. I'm not going to be walking through civil war.
I'm telling you.
There are nations where you cannot even get out of your area. And they are neighbors, some of them. And then we are sitting here. We have never been hostile refugees.
I'm telling you.
The peace that we have enjoyed in this land. Why do you think it's there? Is it not based on those prayers that were prayed even from the beginning?
Absolutely.
That even our national anthem is always a prayer. Don't you think that God preserves this nation? Are we smarter than these nations that have been at war and are still at war? Are Zambians that good that they are able to just avoid war? No. We have come very close to some war, but we have resolved. And in resolving, I want you to know intervention of God for this nation. Therefore, let's not play lightly and take lightly what God is doing. Because why? God has preserved our nation. And so even with the struggles we have, let's find a way of resolving.
Amen.
Let's pray and work together to resolve. But let's not politicize even what doesn't need to be politicized. This is the law of the land. Let's deal with it. And therefore, we should not be characterized. We should not be insulted just because we are saying we want to participate. And we are not adopting the whole butane. Because the people think, they've endorsed the whole thing. No, that is not what we have done. What we have done is we've scrutinized it. And we have made submissions for and against. Why can't they do the same? Tell us exactly where you are against. Tell us where you are for. If you are against everything, tell us why you are against everything. Show us.
That's right.
Where you are against.
Than just saying all of Putin.
Actually, it's amazing that even some of the insults thrust at us, that you read, you people, you should read, please. Can you imagine? For goodness sake, read. And then you are thinking, maybe I'm even more read than you are. Because you don't even know me. You don't know how much I read. To be where I am.
And some people, Bishop,
and then you are saying, please, read. And you are thinking, surely someone.
What have you read yourself?
And then you see they throw scripture at you that is out of context. And you are even saying, exegetically, you are even wrong. You are even in a field where you shouldn't even be. Because the scriptures you are quoting are actually out of context. And I can teach you what theology says about it, what the Bible says about it, in a context of what the Bible is saying, rather than for you to just throw it at us. And you think we are so down that we are not able to discern and know.
And when you speak, Bishop, I don't know where this has come from. That you are paid.
To me, that is what has baffled me.
Each time you say something, like my wife and I here, we are non-aligned. So when you say something,
you are paid.
You are PF.
And then they are saying,
you are UPND.
Show me who has paid me. Show me who has paid me to say what I'm saying.
And they don't know what we resist to just maintain the integrity.
Exactly. And that's the thing, you see, they people, we say this not to wholesale that they don't understand, but a number of people don't understand the integrity that we uphold and how long, for 4 decades, you are still upholding your integrity.
Bishop.
4 decades. And no one can come and point a finger and say, here, this is what you did and this is what you are about. You are corrupt, you are this. They don't understand that actually that takes the grace of God.
Absolutely.
And our commitment to what God has called us to do. And we do this, and let me put it again, we do this not because of what we are going to get out of it in terms of monetary value. We do it because it's our calling.
Absolutely.
We do it because we love to serve God. And therefore, when we speak, the way we speak, emphatically, we are saying it because of conviction. And even in this constitutional making process, the things that we stand for and we firmly say it, and we are going to actually hold our MPs accountable.
Absolutely.
That we are not going to relent. It's not politics. We are simply saying we are going to hold you accountable to the law that governs us.
Absolutely.
If you go and you mess up our law, just because you want to align yourself in what is pleasing to you.
Or you want to be given money for campaign.
Yeah.
You bring issues in our constitution.
No. We are not going to be ignorant of that. We'll call you out on it. And that's what we are doing. We are calling out. You know?
Bishop.
Yes.
When I knock at your door next week, please don't say you are busy. You know, this we can sit here and debate the whole night because the nation is listening.
Amen.
And you'll be amazed. People may not call us. Others are under load shedding. But they are watching. Through YouTube and Facebook. But one of the things, in closing, Bishop, that people say to my wife, and I time and again, because we sit here and they watch us, no, Pastor Chiluba, if we are the 8, if we are the 10, this nation can change. And we keep on saying, you know, there are men in this nation that you haven't seen. Now, I should have asked you this. Please give Tim Camnet the direction of where your church is. Talk about where you were at Mulungushi and where you are going. Give the directions because Zambia is too big.
Thank you. Thank you very much, servant of God and man of God, for that opportunity. You know, my wife and I came back from the diaspora, came back from the United States after 14 years, and we are guided to launch Capital Christian Ministries, and we've been at Mulungushi International Conference Center for 18 years. 18 years. 18 years. And we acquired a property in Minwood, Vona Valley, in Ndeke area.
Vona Valley, that is if you are going to the airport?
Now on your left, that it goes into Ndeke, then before that Ndeke you have to go further down. That's Vona Valley, towards the Galunya farm. And we acquired 10 acres there. The reason why we even had to wait up to this time, because this coming Sunday is our last Sunday.
This Sunday?
At Mulungushi.
So you'll be at Mulungushi this
Sunday? Then from 19th, we are now in Vona Valley. And Vona Valley, the reason why we couldn't even go there again, we are thankful that the road infrastructure has improved tremendously in the area. Because before, even the ones who are residents there with beautiful homes, they've built beautiful homes, they could not access them easily when it rained. But now there's road infrastructure in a lot of portions where you can access it. Our property, our church facility, is actually off of what they call Ngwerere Road. You go through Kamanga.
In fact, when Reverend John Chisha died, my wife and I used that road from the engine, the filling station here, just opposite NRDC.
Exactly.
Police and the engine there, that road.
That road, and we put up a billboard there that tells you and says this direction. So you pass through that Kamanga area, and you pass through what they are calling Obama. They call it Obama area there. You pass it, and then you continue with that road until it curves. You are actually driving along the farm boundary. This big farm boundary that even can be seen from the airport road.
That's right.
Now you're on this side. If you just keep driving, it curves. Then there is another sign there, which now goes into Vona Valley. It's tarred.
It's
all those are
that's
tarred.
The one that we use.
So you use that one now. When you are getting into Vona Valley, there is another sign on a street called Mukuyu.
Okay.
Then you turn left off of that tarred road. We are just about 750 meters away from that main tarred road that has gone into Vona Valley. So beginning 19th of January, we are there. And what we have done is we have annexed off 100 by 100 because it's a big property, 10 acres. Our major facilities that are going to be built there are going to be built while we are still out there.
That's right.
So we have pitched a nice events marquee. It's not a regular tent. This is a building, really. Yeah, and we've pitched that, and we've pitched another one for the children, and we have built a nice ablution, for us to use while we are there, and activities, parking area, and all that. And we are also, our offices are still at Mulungushi, but we are also going to be bringing some nice prefabs for offices while we are building the main buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, because the main buildings, we have 2 phases. There's phase 1, where we are going to build a nice 100-seater auditorium, 1,000-seater auditorium with offices and classrooms and other amenities, and then we are also going to build a television studio. Yeah, a huge television studio.
Amen.
And then we are going to have a school there for the children, which is also children's church, which is like Sunday school. On Sunday it is used as Sunday school, then during the week it's a school. Yeah, then of course that we are targeting that as we move and settle on the property in the good area that we are working on now to move in, which when you visit, we'll be inviting you when we are settled.
Amen.
We said first let's pull out the weeds, so that when we invite you,
we will be there.
You come and see how we are situated, and then we put a construction fence in order to separate the big construction that will be going on there, so that we are settled.
So what times do you start
9
for the
hours.
sake of our viewers?
9 hours we start our service, and we are quite prompt on time. Yeah, for us 9 hours on the dot we start. And so we invite as many of you as would want to worship with us as well, especially those in the Vona Valley and Deke area. Capital Impact has now come close to your neighborhood. When we first went there, Pastor, let me just mention, when we were first prospecting for the place, we have had this property. We bought it 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. It was total bush out there.
Really?
Yeah, it was a bush. When we first went there, my goodness, Andy, Mr. Michael Galoon, as I was talking to him about our prospecting for land there, I said, I know it's a bush. He says, yeah, it's a bush now, but we are bringing about 4,500 households.
Really?
And when we thought about it that time, it was a total bush. Today, when you go there, the infrastructure that is there in terms of housing, and these are not little homes, these are beautiful homes that are there. That number that Mr. Galuna was talking about, it's even exceeded now. Yeah. So we are actually, Capital Christian is coming right into a community that is already built up. And we are thankful for your benevolent heart to allow us to
God
talk
bless
about
you,
it.
Bishop.
Amen, sir.
So this week,
We are
you'll
still
be
at
at
Mulungushi, but
Mulungushi.
19th of
Next
January.
week, you will be
In Vona Valley.
It has been a joy, Bishop,
Amen.
for you to come and visit.
Thank you
I
for
can
your
only
ministry.
thank you
Yeah.
on behalf of my wife, the leadership of this church, that we are guiding the nation.
Thank you, sir.
And the good thing is that you and I are not in politics.
No, we are not. We are not in politics. We are preachers of the gospel, and we guide in wisdom.
Amen.
Those that we shepherd.
Amen.
Amen.
Team Camnet, we have come to the end of our tonight's ministry, and we are so grateful that you tuned in. Keep watching Camnet TV, because Camnet TV is not just another channel. May God bless Zambia. Amen.
Amen.